Bearing is a YouTuber whose channel is dedicated to criticizing people he finds to be disagreeable.
Michael Rowlands is a YouTuber whose channel is dedicated to criticising people he finds to be disagreeable.
He creates videos about various people and shares them with his 200,000 subscribers.
He creates videos about various people and shares them with his 1,000 subscribers.
That in itself is fine. I can live with that.
As can I. Well, it's been lovely chatting, Michael. All the best.
But it is what happens afterwards that I find to be so intolerable. Bearing has an influence over his subscribers, as many people with large fan bases do, and Bearing uses that influence to bully and harass the people he doesn't agree with into silence.
Hang on a sec. Bearing uses that influence to bully and harass the people he doesn't agree with. Right, so you've already said that I create videos and share them with my 200,000 subscribers. You also said that in itself is fine. You can live with that.
That in itself is fine. I can live with that.
So how exactly do I use my influence to bully and harass people? Specifically, what action am I taking? What constitutes this using? And in what way am I using this influence to silence? In your opinion, how would the actions that I take differ if I wasn't silencing?
Let's take a look at some examples, shall we?
Yeah, sure. Something tells me they're going to be examples of people who aren't me doing things that I didn't do. But go on.
To start with, here are some examples of small channels. Notice how the views are low and they are pretty evenly distributed.
Well, not really. You could have zoomed in a bit.
Now here's an example of a channel that Bearing has targeted.
Targeted, as in this video Michael made targeting me, or the hundreds of weird creepy videos he made targeting Sargon of Akkad.
Notice the views on the targeted video. They're disproportionately higher to the rest. Now notice the dislikes on the targeted video. Again, disproportionately high.
While we're talking about proportions, let's do a quick exercise. The video you just showed us had 2,633 views and 1,135 dislikes. Now my channel has 228,970 subscribers. So assuming that all of the views and all of the dislikes are from people who have come directly from my channel, that means that for every one of my subscribers, this video got 0.011 of a view and 0.0049 of a dislike. So if we applied this very same rate of toxic cyber violence to your channel, which has 1,239 subscribers, this video would have had 14 views and it would have had 6 dislikes. So Michael, if you have ever made a video that has caused the subject of your video to receive 14 views and 6 dislikes, then you are just as toxic, just as malicious, and just as much of a bully as me.
It seems clear to me that in creating a video about another YouTuber, Bearing influences his audience to view that original video.
Yeah, well, it seems clear to me that you are a very simple, unintelligent kind of guy, which is unfortunately a Michael problem, not a Bearing problem.
It also seems clear to me that once they are there, they spit hate, bile, and abuse all over the comment sections of these videos, as well as leaving thousands of dislikes. Any honest person would admit these things.
Admit is the wrong word, Michael. To admit something, you're basically coming clean about something that you have done, and I have not left any of these dislikes or comments. I acknowledge that this sometimes happens, because to acknowledge something, one doesn't have to be personally responsible for that thing.
Bearing seems like a reasonably smart guy, so I would assume that he would agree that these things are true as well.
I'm not that smart, Michael, but from where you sit, I must seem like Einstein.
The question is Bearing responsible for this abuse? Is he responsible for something that he knows happens after he's done a thing? Is the fact that his intention, he claims, is not to incite hatred and promote abuse of people he disagrees with, mean that he is, therefore, not responsible for this abuse and hatred? Should he be allowed to remain apathetic towards the horrible things that happen in his name? Should a person be held accountable for their actions when it is painfully clear that those actions are causing other people harm, distress, or to be silenced?
Yes, a person should be held accountable for their actions, and my actions consist of creating videos about various people and sharing them with my 200,000 subscribers. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, I believe you've already given us your opinion on that.
He creates videos about various people and shares them with his 200,000 subscribers. That in itself is fine. I can live with that.
That's fantastic. Now let's have a look at some of your recent actions, Michael. Let's start with the tirade of libelous tweets you've made calling me a toxic rape apologist, amongst other things. Then there was the time you edited that live stream we did to make it sound like I said I'm okay with rape.
Bering, let me ask you. If there is a girl who is passing out, like coming in and out of consciousness over a period of the night, she's obviously been drinking a lot because she's throwing up in a hallway, is it okay to have sex with that girl?
Look, the only thing that I assume there is that rape is okay. I think rape is fucking okay. Now, any reasonable person watching this video will be thinking, gee, there's some pretty strong accusations. I wonder what Michael is basing them on. Well, about a week ago, I hosted a live stream with Michael and a couple of his mates that ended up getting fairly heated. Here's the very end of that live stream, just before Michael was ejected. What are my toxic beliefs about consent, Michael?
That's what I'm trying to understand. That's why I'm asking you these questions.
What, so you don't even understand them, and yet you label them toxic? You fucking idiot.
No, I had an idea about why they were toxic before this, but I'm trying to clarify. That's why I wanted to have the discussion with you rather than going back and forth.
You've made an assumption here about me, just as you have in this case about Brett. And that's why you're a fucking idiot. What a lovely guy. Anyway, let's get back to his video about how much of a bully I am.
If a person gets drunk and drives their car into a crowd of people, killing and maiming dozens, should they be held responsible for something they knew could happen if they chose to drive drunk? Does the fact that their intention was not to harm these people matter in the slightest? Should they be allowed to remain apathetic towards the results of their choices and get behind the wheel and drive drunk again? No.
Okay, a couple of things here, Michael. Firstly, the fact that you're comparing what I do to the actual killing of human beings is telling. It demonstrates your dysfunctional brain's inability to reason. And secondly, for a bloke that has spent the last week arguing that once a female is intoxicated, she has absolutely no responsibility for the actions that she takes, you could not have picked a worse analogy. Tell me, Michael, if a girl gets drunk and drives her car into a crowd of people, killing and maiming dozens, should she be held responsible for something she knew could happen if she chose to drive drunk?
Bering is a bully, intentionally or not.
I disagree. Michael, on the other hand, has intentionally and maliciously spread libelous false allegations about me based on what can only have been invented in his own head.
Bering claims that he is against the behaviour exhibited by much of his audience, that he has a disclaimer on his videos that discourages abuse and harassment, and yet it does not stop. I propose that if Bering actually cared about bullying and harassment, that he would make ongoing, vocal pronouncements of his opposition to this behaviour. He would make it abundantly clear, as often as he could, that he is not okay with how his audience behaves. But I know that he won't. Firstly, because he would take a massive hit to his subscriber base and his income. And secondly, because it would require intense self-reflection and a maturity level that I believe that he does not possess, and a commitment to intellectual honesty and integrity that he is not willing to make.
I can't believe this moron's lecturing me about intellectual honesty and integrity. Now, Michael, if I was to voice my opposition to this on a regular basis, I don't think my subscriber base would be affected at all. But I will not presume to dictate to others what they can and cannot say. That would make me a hypocrite, and I am not a hypocrite.
Now, as some of you may or may not know, I recently did a video about Bering, pointing out some of his toxic ideas and exposing him as a bully and an inciter of internet harassment. Now, I was done making videos about Bering. I had said what I needed to say, and that was fine, but because Bering is such an immature baby, he continues to whinge and cry about me and the things that I have said, and rather than actually do some self-reflection like a normal adult, he has decided to try and get under my skin. Today I liked a video by a small YouTuber who was talking about feminism. Almost immediately after this, Bering tweeted a winky face at this. He then went to the comment section of the video to comment, and the views and the dislike ratio were pretty normal at this point. About 4 hours later, he released a video about this girl, and since then the views and dislikes and awful comments have been swiftly rising, and in fact some of Bering's fans even admit they were sent there by Bering. And as of an hour after Bering releasing his video, the original video was removed from YouTube.
And let's have a look at the shockingly sadistic things Bering said to this poor defenceless girl who was doing nothing but preaching reason.
Because overall, women still earn less than men with the same education level.
Yes, but what happens when you factor in positions held, hours worked, and maternity leave?
Because in the US, a woman is raped every 6 seconds.
Nope. According to the FBI, there's about 90,000 rapes per annum in the US, and that's counting men, women, and children. Now there's 60 seconds in a minute, 3,600 seconds in an hour, 86,400 seconds in a day, and 31,536,000 seconds in a year. Divide this by 6 and that would mean there's 5,256,000 rapes a year in the US, about 26 times the actual number. Now you seem like a nice person, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that you're grossly misinformed and not exceptionally dishonest. I'd check that number before you go stating it as fact again.
Why do we need feminism?
We don't.
Because you're still asking me that question.
Well, someone asked me if I need a boat the other day. Well, actually, they told me I need a boat. A big boat.
Now, Bering knows I care deeply about internet harassment and abuse. He knows that I think him to be one of the worst spearheaders of this kind of behavior in the YouTube community. So it seems odd to me that Bering would make one of his criticisms about a feminist video that I liked immediately after I liked it, even going so far as to credit me for pointing it out to him, and still claim that he is not complicit in the harassment and abuse and silencing of dozens of other YouTubers.
Well, you know what seems odd to me, Michael? You know that I follow you on Twitter, so you know that if you like something on Twitter, it will show up in my feed. So if I'm responsible for bullying and silencing this girl, then surely you are too. You're the one who threw her under the bus by sharing her video with me. Or does the responsibility stop at me for some reason?
Bering knows what he is doing, and he uses it to silence those who don't agree with him, and when those people don't back down, he uses it to get under their skin. I was not intimidated by his attempts to silence me, and now he's going after my ideals.
Oh, that Bering and his evil silencing ways. I bet it hasn't even clicked yet that his entire video calling me a coward and a bully is now on my channel in the form of this video. I've also had Michael on my channel in an hour-plus long debate. Now, when he and his weasel squad of regressive mates decided to do a hangout discussing my horrendously toxic ideas, do you think they let me on to represent myself? Nope. Yet somehow I'm this prick who bullies and silences people. Unbelievable.
It is a cowardly, reprehensible bullying tactic. He is willing to subject a smaller, younger YouTuber to waves of abuse and harassment just so that he can get a rise out of me.
Yeah, you kind of subjected her to that, mate. I wouldn't have known about her if it weren't for you.
This is not a man who deserves support. He does not deserve money. He does not deserve a platform. He does not deserve a place among the YouTube community.
Typical regressive. This person should not have the right to express themselves because I disagree with what they're saying. Now you'll be pleased to know, Michael, that this video, this one you're watching right now, will probably make me around $1,000 over the next year. So thank you, mate.
What he does deserve is to be exposed for the immature, cowardly bully that he is.
Hard-hitting stuff from the world's most regressive weasel right there. Now, because Michael isn't that talented at, well, anything, when he makes a video like this, he tries to give it as much exposure as he can by getting his weasel squad mates to mirror the video on their channels. Now, while this isn't something that I'd usually do, I'm going to play by his rules this time. If you have a YouTube channel and you're inclined to do so, you have my full permission to download this video and publish it on your own channel. Just note in the title that it's a mirrored version, and be sure to include Michael Rowlands in your tags. That way, whoever searches his name in the future is almost guaranteed to stumble across this video. Cheerio!